Orality and Ethno Art workshop that was held in November was so exciting. This event brought together around 80 participants, including believers from Muslim background, youth, seekers, and diverse tribes and communities across Kenya. It was held in Mombasa. Welcome to Mombasa. Our first step is to know the community. We carry out ethnographic research to analyze the community and its art, since the purpose of this project is to produce indigenous audiovisual resources that are scripturally accurate and culturally appropriate. We are going to be using the SoundCloud project. We also visited the museum to gather some information that we could not get from the young people and on the internet. So visiting the museum as part of our orality presentation was very helpful for us to know what the people are before we start even discussing with them. We explain 15 traits of orality, and this enables us to determine what approach we will take in the workshop and where we are to position the people in the orality spectrum. Our host has prepared the hearts of the participants by providing some of the information needed for the workshop. We started with an introduction to orality. Of course, we know that 80% of the world's population is orality reliant. And to communicate effectively, we must employ this strategy. Understanding orality is crucial as it encompasses the use of spoken communication over written forms. It is important to clarify that oral individuals should not be mistaken for being illiterate, rather than freeing orality and textuality as opposite or forces that are opposing themselves. No, we can think of them as existing on a continuum. Those who primarily depend on written text are categorized as LOR, low orality reliance, and those who favor oral communication methods, as in most tribes in Africa, we identify them as high orality reliance. So now we have more than 80 people who have gathered for this training, and we want to find out what level are they in the orality spectrum. So for the larger group, which comprises mostly young people, we recorded about 15 songs that address various issues in the community. We were using the Creating Local Arts Together, a research work to help community produce indigenous thing that is relevant, culturally relevant to their people, by Brian Schrag. That's what we are using for the ethno art training, while we are using the lessons we've learned from orality for the other aspects. So each day we began with time of devotion, which is also characterized by a lot of dancing, a lot of songs, acting, displaying, dramatizing the lessons we want to use. The facilitation used multisensory tools to guide the participants in understanding how to use various forms of art to address the challenges faced by their communities. The participants discussed together, composed songs based on the teaching, and used role play to create understanding. The groups were divided by language and community, ensuring that each group could identify its unique challenges. This included early marriages, alcoholism, lack of education, and the importance of farming. The participant grouped into 5 categories. We have the Gema, Niloth, Kushite, Mijikenda, and the Mothers of Light. This work together to create relevant and meaningful art that address these issues. They use traditional songs, drama, and spoken word to communicate their messages. We are going to focus more on the Mothers of Light. Let's meet Mothers of Light Women Group. This is a group in Ukunda, which is by the coast. We traveled there. They are going to be the key for this research paper. The group's members comprise both Christians and Muslims with a vision to address vices among young girls using traditional songs and dance. They want to see the eradication of teenage pregnancy that is rampant in the community. Most of them are either Digo or Duruma people group. Analyzing the Digo and Duruma people of the Mombasa coast using the 15 traits of orality provides insight into their cultural dynamics, communication patterns, and way of engaging with information. So now let's go into different aspects that we research. We look at the 5 clusters. How do the Digo and the Duruma people, how do they articulate themselves, their language, their narrative, and their words? How do they articulate the things around them? We look at ways of expressing. How do they, maybe through art, what kind of art exists among the Digo and the Duruma people? What kind of rituals and symbols do they use? Most of this information, we also got them from the museum. What about the ways of relating? How do they treat themselves? Because when we are implementing this orality, what we learn from them, it will really help us during the recording. How do they respect? How do they relate with their environment? Then how do they organize themselves? These women, the Digo and the Duruma people who have come for this recording, and the young people who have come, how do they classify? What's their sense of time? What is the need for change? And how do they classify things in their world? So we also look at the way of knowing. How do they learn? How do they capture and process message? How do they learn? What is their preferred ways of remembering a message? So now, we now go into the 5 traits that really help us describe the Digo and the Duruma people. Like I said, the Digo people are, who are they? They are in East African tribe located along the southern coastal strip of Kenya, stretching from Mombasa to Tanzanian border. It's quite surprising to know that it's in a predominantly Christian country. The Digo community is almost entirely Muslim. So then what about the Duruma? The Duruma people inhabit the semi-arid plain located just one mountain range inland from eastern Kenya coastline. The bustling city of Mombasa serves as the nearest point where the Duruma can engage with other communities. Primarily, they are a self-sufficient farming group, although some individuals have taken on the role of active traders with outside work.
Islam.
Because we're in a community,
Yes.
so we don't separate.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
It's together. Okay. Great. Maybe I do introduction from our part. We can also get to know each other, right? So with me here is Omar. Omar is the chairperson. Zuga. Amani Zuga dancers. Amani Eka traditional dancers. He is the chairman. Amani Eka traditional dancers. And he really wanted to see where the mothers of light are coming from.
Project. So let's look at the 15th trait. Both the Digo and the Duruma communities have strong oral traditions, passing down knowledge, history, and values through storytelling, proverbs, songs, and oral narratives they composed. Knowing that the community is high orality reliant, we did not use any books. During the teaching of the 7 steps to create local arts together, a training to develop by Bram Schrag. Storytelling is also a core practice among the Digo people. It's very central to their culture. So They used it to transmit moral lessons, cultural values, and religious beliefs. These stories are often embedded with metaphors and imagery. So we implemented this also. Relational and communal living. These people are very relational. Knowledge is shared in group setting. The composition of the songs is done by the group with wisdom and life lessons learned through collective participation rather than individual ability. Then the fourth thing we notice is there's a lot of repetition for retention. Repetition is key in their oral traditions, with proverb, with the songs and chants often repeated to ensure memorization and transmission across generations. The fifth thing we also notice, according to the trait, is they use set phrases, proverbs, structure, oral expression, which is very prevalent even in their work. Then what about multisensory communication? The Digo and Drummer engage multiple senses in their communication. Songs, drumming, dancing are integral parts of their storytelling, and singing, enhancing the impact of the oral messages. They use gesture to describe the story. They clap and dance to the rhythm of the song. Okay. What about language? They prefer the indigenous language. Both groups prioritize their native language as primary modes of communication. Participatory engagement. Oral communication is interactive, involving audience participation through singing, clapping, and dancing. And this is, we can see that their songs invite other people to join. We have to record all of them at the same time. This participatory approach fosters community friendship, and we got a better quality audio when they all sang together rather than picking individuals to record. Then there's a lot of experiential thinking. The Digo and Drummer focus on the tangible experiences, practical knowledge, and often conveyed through examples, parables, and real-life illustration. So lesson and teaching are conveyed in specific contexts, such as farming practice, fishing, family life. Wisdom is often situational, tied to the rhythm and reality of their daily living. So the Digo and the Drummer rely on oral memory to preserve their history, genealogies, and traditions. Elder often act as custodian of the memory, ensuring its continuity through deliberate teaching to younger generation. So none of the two songs we recorded were written down. They sang it from memory. During the discussion with the Mothers of Light, each member of the groups is playing an important role, even as they contribute to the discussion. Each bring a perspective to the story and the song. This approach reflects preference for flexibility and fluidity in oral communication. So most of the musical instruments used are improvised. You could see from the broken bottles that were put inside a tin can to the cover of bottles that were made into a shaker and a rattle, the drums, all these women who are playing the instruments, some of these are improvised. Now, how do we integrate this into our live recording? From the discussion around the 15th trait during the first session of the workshop, it is evident that the model of life, which is our primary focus for this research, is high orality reliance. And in understanding we got from our first meeting, Ukunda helped us to prepare how to teach the 7 steps of creating local arts together. And the steps include, we have to meet the community, we have to help them let them come up with the kingdom or transformation goal they want to achieve. And they have to select which genre of music, genre of play will fit into that. And they have to now analyze. We revisited it, we look at the proverb appropriate, then we recorded the songs, then they listen to it again for them to improve it. And after then, we came together to celebrate what we have produced. So we encourage them to continue to use storytelling and parable. Another thing we realized is that we further encourage them to leverage music, dance, and indigenous art form to make lessons memorable. Many of the things we learned from the orality workshop were integrated into the recording session. which was really helpful in dealing with them when we were working together with them to record these songs and also to shoot the music videos.
There's a marriage, early marriage, and the one who is married, who has entered the marriage, he's tired. She's tired with the marriage. So the theme of the song is about, I'm going back to my parents because I'm tired with the marriage because of the early marriage. And then the second song is the same meaning, but the in-law, mother-in-law, is telling the daughter-in-law that she will not come back to her husband because the life has become difficult to her.
Feedback from the audience, asking them what specifically they like in the approach. Most of them were happy that we focus more on listening and talking rather than just reading and writing. They were happy that we used storytelling even in the composition and also in explaining the strategy of orality to them. They are also very happy that the session was very interactive, that engages and involves them. There's a lot of participation. And they said they like my Nigeria accent. Many people in Kenya actually love watching Nigerian films, and which the accent, they are already used to my accent. And that was really one of the things that they said they like about the training. How was this different from previous workshops they have experienced? Number one, they said inclusivity across generations, because we work with mothers of light who are older women. We also work with younger people who are teenagers. And this rapport brought dynamics into the teaching. And they were very encouraged that the innovative use of art was really encouraging to them to see. Also, they said participatory engagement, because all of them were involved in the dancing, they were involved in the singing. Then what worked well? According to the feedback, the approach proved very effective in several ways. They said it's very memorable and transformative. Many of the songs that we learned, they kept singing it, and it has become part of them, their prayer meetings. How might we improve this approach of orality? One of the things is extended facilitation time. They said the time is short. We should allocate more time for lessons, and so that there can be deeper engagement. And one of them also recommended that we should not mix the groups together. The digos should be separate. Other people groups should be separate also, so that we can spend enough time for individual integration. What I do not do that needs to be done next time, from my perspective of expanding orality literacy, it is important to get familiar with the 15th trait very well. I would like to also do an oral explanation and create different gestures that can explain each of the traits. I also need to be intentional about the recording of my teaching so that other people can benefit from it. I just noticed that I do not have a recording of the teaching I did for the Mothers of Light. And we also like to translate this trait into different languages for easy assimilation. So in conclusion, the advanced lesson I've taken in orality is already helping me to engage the unreached people groups who are largely orality reliant.
Walioko mbele yenu ni wamama wa mwangaza aka Moss. Tuko tayari kuwaletea nyimbo za kienyeji zenye mada mimba za mapema na mihadarati. Makinikeni nasi hadi tamati. Karibuni. Tomani asichana rero mnakaila. Tamani asichana rero mnakaila. Naricha kushoma mnamba nenda mkamale kazi. Shwa kazi ni kuzurura maba. Uo si mpango mizichenda mnakanonga.